He left in the middle of the night and never came back. That's what my mom always told me about my dad. I used to imagine him as some selfish man who packed up his bags while I was asleep and disappeared without saying goodbye. For years, that image stuck. My dad, the ghost. My mom, the hero. And me? The kid he didn't want. I never questioned it. Not until the day I opened a dusty box in the basement and found a letter, addressed to me, in handwriting I didn't recognize, postmarked 1 year after he supposedly walked out of our lives. That letter cracked something open I didn't even know was sealed. I grew up in Sudbury, Ontario. If you've never been, picture a quiet town wrapped in trees and cold winters. My mom, Diane, was a school secretary, which meant everyone knew her, kids, parents, teachers. Everyone respected her. I did too. We weren't rich, but she gave me everything. Birthday parties with homemade cakes, new coats every fall, a front row seat at every school play, every recital. She was always there, always tired, always reminding me how she did it all alone. She never dated, never spoke about my dad beyond the same 2 sentences. He didn't want to be a father. We're better off without him. By the time I turned 10, I'd stopped asking questions. By the time I turned 20, I barely remembered his name. I'm 31 now. I live 5 blocks away from my mom in a little rented townhouse. I'm a teacher at the same elementary school I went to. It's a good life. Quiet. Predictable. I even bring groceries to my mom once a week, like she used to do for her own parents. That weekend started like any other. She was downsizing, said she wanted to clean out the basement and maybe rent it out to a college student. "Would you mind helping me sort through the boxes?" she asked. "Sure," I said. Might be fun to dig through old junk. At first, it was exactly that. Trophies, holiday decorations, tax folders, yellowed schoolwork. I found one of my 4th grade art projects, a clay turtle missing a leg. We laughed. She made coffee. It felt warm, normal. Then I found the box. It was tucked behind a water heater, sealed with brittle masking tape. On top, written in faded black marker, J. Personal. At first, I thought it was a box of my old stuff, school photos or baby clothes. But when I opened it, there were envelopes, dozens of them, some sealed, some torn, all addressed to me or my mother. The top one caught my eye. It was addressed to Jenna McAllister in handwriting I didn't recognize. The return address said, T. McAllister, Etobicoke, ON. It was dated August 2000. I was 4 years old. My stomach dropped. I pulled it out. My hands shook a little. I read, "Dear Jenna, I don't know if your mom will ever give you this, but I want you to know I think about you every single day. I hope you're happy. I hope you're safe. I'll keep writing even if I don't hear back. Love, Dad." I froze. For a second, I thought maybe it was a prank, a weird misunderstanding. Then I dug deeper. More letters. Some still sealed. Some dated all the way up to 2009. There were birthday cards, Christmas notes, even a printed email confirmation for a child support payment. I couldn't feel my legs. I sat on the cold floor with all those envelopes around me, and it felt like someone had just dropped an entire alternate timeline into my lap. I carried the box upstairs. My mom was sitting at the table, drinking tea and scrolling her phone like it was any other Sunday. I dropped the box beside her. She didn't even flinch. "What's this?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. She looked at the box, then at me, then back at the box. "Oh," she said quietly, "you found those. That's all you're going to say?" "What do you want me to say?" "I don't know, Mom. Maybe start with why you told me he disappeared when he was clearly writing me for years." She folded her arms and sighed. "He was trying to manipulate you. He wanted back in after everything he put us through." I blinked. "You said he left, that he didn't care." "He didn't. Not in the way that mattered." "Then why the letters, the payments, the cards?" "They don't erase what he did." "What did he do, Mom?" Her face hardened. "He lied. He said he'd be a partner, a father, and he wasn't. He couldn't keep a job. He drank. He bailed on your first birthday. I had to protect you." "So you erased him?" I made a decision. I stepped back. My chest was pounding. "You lied to me for 30 years. I kept you safe. You kept me in the dark." She stood up, walked over to the sink, and stared out the window. "He would have ruined you, Jenna." I didn't say anything else. I grabbed the box and walked out. I didn't open more letters that night. I couldn't. I just sat on my living room floor with the box beside me like it might explode. It was like my whole identity had a crack running down the middle. For years, I thought I was fatherless. I thought I was unwanted. I thought I had no choice but to move on from someone who never looked back. But he did look back. He wrote. He reached out. He tried. And my mother, the person I trusted most, decided I didn't need to know. The next morning, I called Rachel. She's my godmother, my mom's best friend, and the only person who's ever called my mom on anything. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, sweetheart," she said. "Everything okay?" I didn't waste time. "Did you know about the letters?" There was a pause. "I suspected," she said quietly. "Your mom told me once that Tom sent things, but she never said what she did with them. So you never said anything either?" I didn't want to cause a rift. "There already is one," she sighed. "Do you want to talk about it? I'll put the kettle on." That evening, I went to Rachel's house. We sat at her kitchen table, same one I'd eaten pancakes at since I was a kid. I showed her a few of the letters. She read them slowly. Her hands trembled slightly, and she wiped her eyes once with the sleeve of her sweater. "I knew your mom was angry," she said. "But I didn't know she went this far." "Do you think he's still alive?" "I don't know, Jenna. He was living out west last I heard. I need to find him." She nodded. "Then you should." That night, I opened my laptop and searched for Tom McAllister, Ontario. At first, nothing. Too many names, too many results. Then I added Etobicoke. And there he was. A LinkedIn profile, a grainy photo. Logistics coordinator, retired. 61 years old. The timeline matched. I clicked the contact button. I didn't know what to say. So I kept it simple. "Hi, my name is Jenna McAllister. I think I'm your daughter. If this reaches you, I'd like to talk." I hit send and waited. He replied 2 days later. I checked my email probably 30 times the first day. I told myself I wasn't expecting anything, that maybe it wasn't even the right person. Maybe he wouldn't respond. Maybe he didn't want to. But when I saw the notification on my phone and his name in the subject line, "Hi, my name is Jenna," I nearly dropped the phone. I sat down on the floor, right there by the laundry machine, and opened it. "Jenna, I've waited my whole life to read a message like this. Thank you for reaching out. I don't want to say too much right away and overwhelm you, but yes, I'm your father. I've never stopped hoping this day would come. If you're open to it, I'd be grateful for a chance to talk. I live just outside Thunder Bay now. Here's my number. Love, Tom." I read it 3 times. "Love, Tom? Not Dad? Not yet." Still, I cried harder than I'd expected. I didn't feel angry or joyful or even scared, just hollow, like I'd been moving through life with a puzzle missing a middle piece and someone just slid it onto the table. I didn't call him right away. I texted first. "Hi, it's Jenna. I got your email. I'd like to talk, but I need to take it slow." He replied almost instantly. "Of course. I'll be here whenever you're ready." For the next few days, I went back through the letters from the box, one by one, slowly. Some were torn at the edges, others still sealed. There were birthday cards I never saw, each one carefully dated, Christmas greetings with little drawings inside, notes written in shaky handwriting, apologies, memories I wasn't part of, and receipts. So many receipts. One was a monthly child support payment made out to my mom. Another was a stamped court document from 1997 requesting supervised visitation rights. It was denied. There were lawyer letters, too, most of them from his end, requests for shared custody, mediation attempts, even one pleading for my school photos. I sat with all of it spread across my living room floor, just staring at 30 years of a story I never knew existed. I brought one of the letters to Rachel's house. She scanned it, shaking her head slowly. "I always thought Diane had some bitterness she never let go of. But this," she said, "this is different. This is deliberate. She made it look like he vanished. She erased him." That weekend, I finally called him. I sat in my car, parked by the lake, phone in hand, my stomach twisted. When he picked up, his voice was softer than I expected, gentle, measured. "Jenna?" he said. I almost hung up, but I didn't. "Yeah, hi." And just like that, we talked for over an hour. He didn't rush, didn't beg, didn't dump his side all at once. He just answered what I asked. Said he moved to Etobicoke after the separation because he couldn't afford to stay in Sudbury. That he sent letters every month and never got a reply. That every attempt to go through the courts hit a wall. "That last hearing," he said, "the judge said you were better off with your mother full-time. That I'd been absent. But I hadn't. I just didn't have the same resources." "Did you remarry?" I asked. No, never did. Why? He hesitated. I always felt like I was waiting for something that might never happen. We made a plan to meet the next weekend. I didn't tell my mom. I couldn't. Not yet. I wasn't ready for her to twist the truth again or make me feel guilty for wanting to know him. Instead, I told her I had a teacher workshop out of town. She didn't question it. When I pulled into the cafe parking lot in Thunder Bay, my heart was pounding. I spotted him through the window, same gentle eyes as in the photo from his LinkedIn. Grayer now, thinner. He stood up when I walked in. We both froze for a second. Then he opened his arms, and I stepped into the hug. It wasn't movie perfect. It was awkward and shaky and filled with the weight of too many lost years. But it was real. We talked for hours, about everything. He showed me the original custody papers, his visitation schedule, the rejection letters from the court. He still had photocopies of every letter he'd sent me. He even brought a photo of us, me as a toddler, sitting on his shoulders at a fairground. I don't remember the moment, but I recognize the look on my face. I'm smiling at him like I loved him. Because I did. Once. Before someone decided I shouldn't. I didn't want to fight her, he said. Not because I agreed with her, but because I knew she'd make your life harder if I did. And I didn't want you to be caught in the middle. She told me you just left, I said, that you didn't care. I never stopped caring, Jenna. I stopped pushing because every push hurt you more. On the drive home, I cried again. Not out of sadness, really, just mourning. For birthdays spent wondering. For dances he never saw. For moments I didn't know I missed until now. When I got back to Sudbury, I still didn't tell my mom. I needed a little more time to collect myself before going into the fire, so I kept my visits short and my answers vague. But one afternoon, while I was helping her unload groceries, she looked at me and said, "You've been quiet lately." "Just tired," I said. She gave me a look, not angry, watchful. "Well," she said, "you've always been good at keeping things to yourself." I bit my tongue. I wasn't ready yet, but soon. A week later, I found myself in the basement again, this time by choice. There were more boxes to sort. I was looking for old photo albums, something, anything, to confirm the timeline. Instead, I found a locked drawer in an old cabinet. I didn't remember it being there before. I used a flathead screwdriver to pry it open. Inside were more documents, some from family court, others from a lawyer's office. A few were from a private investigator. One, in particular, stood out. It was a written report from 1999. It claimed my father was seen with an unfamiliar woman and possibly using alcohol. It was full of vague language. Nothing provable. At the bottom, the lawyer had handwritten, "Could support sole custody narrative. Leverage if needed." My hands shook again. I took photos of everything. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long my mother had planned this version of the truth. Had she really believed it was better for me? Or was it about control? Had she loved me enough to raise me alone, but not enough to tell me the truth? And worst of all, how much of the love I had for her was built on lies? I called Tom the next morning. "I think I'm ready to tell her I know," I said. He was quiet for a moment. Then, "You don't have to do anything fast, Jenna. You've already done more than most would." "I need to say it," I said. "Not for you, for me." My mother's face when I told her said everything before her mouth did. It was a Tuesday evening, cold, raining, the kind of night that usually made me feel nostalgic, made me want to curl up in her living room and listen to old records. But not this time. This time, I had a folder in my bag, full of letters and court documents she never thought I'd see. And I had questions, 30 years worth. She was stirring a pot of soup when I sat down at the table. "I saw him," I said. She paused, didn't turn around, just kept stirring. "I met Dad last weekend, in Thunder Bay." Still nothing. Finally, she turned off the burner and faced me. "I figured," she said. "You've been walking around like you're carrying something too big to hold. I know about the letters, Mom, the ones you kept, the child support, the court documents. I did what I had to do." "No," I said. "You did what you wanted. What made you feel in control?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. "I protected you." "No, you manipulated me. Don't say that to me. You don't know what he was like back then. I know he never stopped writing. I know he paid support. I know he tried to see me. You think money makes someone a father?" I think you don't get to decide that by yourself. I pulled out one of the letters, the birthday card from 2002. Inside was a Polaroid photo of me at a pumpkin patch. I must have been about 5. I didn't remember it. That's from him, I said. You took me to see him that day, didn't you? She looked away. I wasn't sure if you'd remember. You told me that photo was from a class trip. It was easier. For who? She sat down. I had no one to help me. No money. No backup. Your father was kind when we met, but that changed fast. He got laid off, stopped trying, started drinking, staying out. He said he stopped drinking after you separated. Of course he did, she scoffed. He always had a convenient story. And what about the PI report, the one you used to push for sole custody? She flinched. That was just a precaution. A weapon, you mean? I didn't fabricate anything. But you used it, even if it meant I'd never see my father again. I raised you, she said, her voice rising. I sacrificed everything. Do you think that was easy? I think it was easier without him in the picture, I said. She blinked. For a moment, I thought she might cry, but she didn't. She stood up and walked into the kitchen. I gave you a good life, Jenna. You gave me a half-life. I left before she could say anything else. I didn't slam the door, didn't yell, didn't cry until I got to my car. My hands were shaking as I texted Tom. I told her. It wasn't pretty. He responded right away. I'm proud of you. That couldn't have been easy. Over the next few days, I didn't speak to my mom. She didn't reach out either. We'd never gone more than 3 days without talking. By day 5, I felt like someone had pulled the foundation out from under my entire world. Every birthday, every holiday, every tear she wiped from my cheek, it all felt warped. I wasn't angry anymore, just exhausted, and unsure what parts of my life were even real. Rachel came over that Saturday. She brought muffins and didn't say anything for the first 10 minutes, just let me sit with her on the couch. Then she finally spoke. She called me. I looked up. She's hurt, Rachel said, but not sorry. Not really. I figured. She said you're turning your back on her. I'm not turning my back, I said. I'm just facing what she wouldn't. Tom and I kept talking, almost daily now. He told me about the places he'd lived, Etobicoke, Mississauga, then Thunder Bay. He never remarried, never had more kids. I wanted to, he said once, but every time I tried to move on, I wondered if you were out there thinking I abandoned you. I told him I'd spent my whole life assuming that. I wish I'd fought harder, he said. I wish I'd known you were still fighting. Eventually, he invited me to his house. It was a simple place. Small, 1 story, with a backyard that sloped down toward a lake. There was a canoe leaning against a tree and a small wooden dock stretching into the water. Inside, the walls were covered with bookshelves and framed photos. None of me, of course, but some of the letters I'd sent recently were pinned on the fridge like artwork. He made us tea. I sat on the couch, noticing how quiet everything was. You live alone? I asked. Just me and the loons on the lake. Is it lonely? Not as much as you'd think, he said, especially now. We talked about everything. My childhood, his absence, his regrets, mine. I asked him what he remembered about me as a baby. Everything, he said. You used to grip my finger like you were holding on for dear life. You hated bedtime. Loved music. You used to fall asleep on my chest while I played guitar. I smiled. That night, I stayed in the guest room. In the morning, he made French toast and told me stories about when he and my mom were young. She was fiery, he said. Smart. Knew how to get what she wanted. She still does. Yeah, he said. I guess that never changed. Driving home, I thought about forgiveness, how people think it's a switch you can flip. Like once you learn the truth, everything falls into place and you just move on. But that's not how it works. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about deciding how much weight you're willing to carry. And for the first time in my life, I didn't want to carry my mother's version of the past anymore. I went back to see her a few days later. She answered the door with red-rimmed eyes and hugged me before I could speak. I didn't do everything right, she said, muffled against my shoulder. But I did what I thought I had to. I know, I said. I just didn't want him to hurt you the way he hurt me. I get it, Mom, I do. But you didn't just protect me. You erased a part of me. She nodded. I'm sorry, she whispered. That was the first time she'd ever said it, and even if it didn't fix everything, it meant something. My mother and I started talking again after that visit. not like before. There was distance now, and it wasn't just physical. It was the kind of space created by truth, the kind that doesn't shrink easily. We didn't pretend things were fine, but we both kept showing up. Small talk filled in where confessions left off. I wasn't ready to forgive, but I wasn't ready to cut her off completely either. I spent more weekends at my father's house now. We cooked together, played cards, even went canoeing once. He was terrible at it, and we ended up soaked, laughing like idiots as we waded back to shore. Sometimes he'd pull out old photos, showing me relatives I never got to know. One picture was of his mom, my grandmother, who passed away when I was 19. I didn't even know she existed, I said, holding the photo. She knew about you, he said. I talked about you every visit. She never understood why Diane cut me out. Did she ever try to reach out? She wrote a letter once, he said. Your mom sent it back. I started seeing my life in two timelines. What actually happened and what I believed happened. It was like being handed a second version of my own childhood. Same dates, different events, same people, different truths. Some days it made me feel like I was losing my mind. Other days it made me feel like I'd finally found it. One evening I asked Tom if he ever hated my mom. He looked out over the lake for a long time before answering. No, he said finally. Not even when I should have. Why? Because hate's a heavy thing to carry. And I wanted to be light enough for you, in case you ever came looking. I didn't reply, but I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. He smiled. At school, I caught myself watching the kids differently. There was one boy, Lucas, who always waited at the pickup gate even after the bell rang. His mom was always late. Sometimes she didn't come at all, and the office would call someone else, usually his older cousin. I asked him once if he missed his dad. He shrugged. He's in Calgary, he said. He used to send birthday cards, but my mom throws them away. It hit me like a punch. You ever read them? I asked gently. He shook his head. Want me to help you ask for the next one? I said. He looked at me like I'd handed him a secret he didn't know he could ask for. I decided to write a letter of my own, not to my mom or my dad, but to myself. I sat on the dock behind Tom's house one Saturday morning and wrote it in a spiral notebook. You didn't get the truth growing up. That wasn't your fault. But now that you have it, you get to decide what kind of daughter, what kind of woman, what kind of human you want to be. You can't fix the past, but you can stop dragging it forward. Forgive slowly. Speak honestly. Love deliberately. Don't pretend lies didn't matter, but don't let them define you either. You found your way back to someone who never stopped waiting. That means you're allowed to take your time figuring out how to move forward. You're allowed to be angry. Just don't stay there forever. Later that week, I gave my mom a copy of one of Dad's old letters. I didn't say anything, just left it in an envelope on her kitchen counter. 2 days later, she texted, I read it. I didn't remember him writing like that. I'm sorry I didn't let you decide for yourself. That was all. But it was more than she'd ever admitted before. We don't talk about the past often. Not yet. Sometimes I see her watching me like she's afraid I'll disappear. And maybe I do feel more distant now. Older, in a way. Like something finally broke free inside me and I can't go back to the version of me that trusted too easily. But I don't hate her. I can't. I won't. Hate would make her the center of the story again. And I've spent enough of my life being shaped by her narrative. The last time I saw my dad, we sat on the dock and watched the sun go down. He had a guitar across his lap. He doesn't play much anymore, says his fingers are too stiff, but he strummed something soft and wordless. Do you ever think about what life would have been like if things were different? I asked. Sometimes, he said. But then I think about right now and how lucky I am to have this. I nodded. That's how I feel too. I still haven't told many people the full story, not because I'm ashamed, but because most people wouldn't understand the weight of it, not unless they've lived it. I told Rachel everything, and I've started journaling again, really journaling, not just scribbled thoughts on Post-its. I even wrote a piece for a teacher newsletter about allowing kids to ask about the adults they miss. No names, no specifics, just the truth in softer language. One of my coworkers said it made her cry. Good. I cried when I lived it. Sometimes I think about the girl I used to be, the one who thought her father didn't love her, who clung to her mother like a lifeline. I want to hug her, Tell her she wasn't stupid for believing it. Tell her she was just trying to survive with the tools she was given. She didn't know the full story, but she does now. And she's still here, still building something honest out of all the broken pieces. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive my mom, but I know I'll keep showing up for the conversations. I'll keep choosing truth over comfort. I'll keep visiting my dad, listening to his stories, and writing new ones of our own. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. If you want to share your stories, please comment below. Additionally, what is your opinion on the poster's decision?